Let's speak now as we continue to monitor the situation in Gauteng. Dr. Ferrial Adams, Executive Manager at Watercan. Dr. Adam, good afternoon to you, and thank you very much indeed for your time. So, as I understand the sequence of events, and there are many different water problems in different parts of Johannesburg and the country at the moment, but in this case, the city deliberately stopped supplying water. Did they have a legal basis to do that? Because from what I can see, people weren't paying for it.
So good afternoon, Stephen, and to your viewers. I think it's a combination of things. So before we even go to people not paying for it, that is true. The kind of focus that the city of Joburg is taking, or Joburg Water, is to minimize non-revenue water, right? And non-revenue water includes fixing leaks, it's the theft of water, and then it's non-paying customers. What I think is this kind of example indicates to us is the kind of the inequality of access to water in South Africa. And that is something that needs to be highlighted, particularly in what's going on in Lenasia South.
Yeah, in other words, I mean, people have left with no option. And we see this happen. People will start a settlement. They look desperate for a place to live, where they can find some kind of work, a job, feed their children, etc. They'll then often dig and actually tap into a water system because they're desperate for water. Is there any better way for a city to manage this situation? It's very difficult for everyone who's involved in this.
It is indeed quite difficult. And, you know, from the people on the ground and the community, they were saying that we want to pay for water, but then give us water and put in the standpipes. So my understanding is there are some standpipes that exist that were illegally put in, but now government wants to stop those. And all the people are saying is, please, we'll pay for the water, but give us something. But I also think we need to talk about this kind of the difference in approach that government is taking in terms of people that are supposedly not paying. There was a PARI discussion, a podcast a few weeks ago, and basically they said that Gauteng metros at present are owed 132 billion in unpaid debts. And yes, the big chunk of that is from households, but there's 32.7 billion that is debt from companies and government themselves. Now, in this kind of situation where we are, we need to build trust between government and people. But what they're doing is they're actually worsening the trust. You go and you shut down people's access to water and you expect people not to protest, you know. But why not target your government buildings? Why not do an audit of your government buildings on the amount of leaks that exist? And provide people with water. Don't just say that there are 35 tanks there and so they should have water. You need to monitor that regularly and make sure that the tanks are full, that people have access. It is their right, their human right, to have access to water.
And I mean, as you talk about it, I'm reminded, of course, and I'm sure you saw it, the Daily Maverick piece this morning by Ferrial talking about how the office that is rented by the Joburg mayor actually has been cut off for non-payment. So, I mean, we see this all over the place. There are lots of different things going on, particularly around Joburg at the moment, and we all realise that money is a major part of it. Huge amounts of money are needed to sort of invest in the system, to deal with leaks, to make sure that this unmetered water figure is brought down. I don't know if I see any evidence that things are going to get better. I realise that I'm not in the system, but from what you can see, is there any reason to believe things are going to get better? I mean, it looks like money's being spent, but I don't know if it's improving services.
I mean, I think the first thing we need to say is how much money is being spent. So yes, money is being spent, but it's not the amount we need to actually turn the system around. And let's be honest, Stephen, this situation we're in right now is not going to go away anytime soon. But what we want to see and what government has started talking about is about ring fencing money for water and sanitation, and that is important. So, but we don't know how much. We don't know when this ring fencing will happen, whether municipal grants will be ring fenced as well. I think it's actually poor management when we need money in the city to fix so many things that money from the infrastructure grants are actually going back to Treasury. That should not be happening. The other thing that needs to happen, Stephen, is the wasteful expenditure. The city of Joburg, with all this article exactly, you know, that Ferrial wrote on the renting of new office space. And then also we just told today by Watercan that every time there is a meeting, they have to people have to pay for parking, and that is amounting to a bill of about 2 million rand a month. So we need to look at how do we start spending better, because there is money, but is it wasteful? And is it being spent on the right things?
I mean, in the meantime, you get the classic kind of South African response. The middle classes, they try to get out of the situation regarding electricity by having solar panels. Now, you see more and more boreholes in more and more areas. Are there going to be long-term consequences for that?
Completely. I don't even think long-term. I think we're going to see short to medium-term impacts of people drawing out from the boreholes without proper regulations, checks and balances. On the weekend, I was informed that many of the people, you may be companies that are dropping boreholes, but they're not getting the required permissions to actually drop the boreholes. And the other thing is people with boreholes are saying, well, I have a borehole, so I can do whatever I want to. There is a system, there is a water cycle. If we are going into a very hot summer, we could look at water reduction, in terms of wherever you are being reduced as a result. And we need to use the water sparingly, even if you have a borehole. And I think that is something we need to have better checks and balances in place. I know there are some places that are already running dry. They've dropped boreholes. There's so many that they can't actually access much of the water. The other thing is you can't drink the borehole water in Johannesburg unless you have a very complicated system that cleans your water because of acid mine drainage.
Dr. Ferrial, Adam, thank you very much indeed. Executive Manager at Watercan. Always do appreciate the time.